and then he was shot.
Lincoln is assassinated on April 14th, 1865 at Ford's Theater. The killer, John Wilkes Booth, the son of a prominent actor who was bitter at the recent loss from the Confederacy. Booth carried a handgun and a knife with him, and within hours the president was dead. Booth was found days later in a barn, and he, along with his accomplices, were executed. Soon after, Andrew Johnson was sworn into office. Now, Andrew Johnson was a Southern sympathizer. He believed that white supremacy was the way to go with the nation. Andrew Johnson vetoed 20 Reconstruction bills in favor of the South.
Mr. President, look at the new bills I just got in.
Oh, thank you. No. No, can't do this one. It does not benefit us.
Mr. President.
Easy, no. Wow.
This is just way too long and talks about nothing we think about. Like, this does not help us at all.
They're just writing the same thing over and over again. No. Last one. Reading. No, I can't do it. None of these are valid.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Bills in favor of the South, as well as tried to fire Lincoln's Secretary of War. Along with these things, he also didn't punish the white supremacists who became known as the KKK. He was impeached on February 24th, 1868. The vote was 126 to 47. Freedmen's Bureau was established on March 3rd, 1865. They provided food, clothing, and housing to African Americans. They were also one of the first civil rights organizations and movements that provided assistance to freed slaves and poor white Southerners. It included food, clothing, healthcare, and schooling. They also were in control of all land condoned or seized. Most of its work was done between 1865 and 1868. It was disbanded in 1872, and the Bureau's record contained a lot of data about life-to-life for freed slaves that many historians study today. They helped reuniting slaves with family in America or other countries. They also made major strides to make freed slaves a part of society. The Reconstruction Acts of 1867 were a large part of the development ratification of the 13th Amendment.
In this, the slaves are free.
On December 6, 1865. This amendment abolished slavery and freed all the slaves. Then, the ratification of the 14th Amendment.
And now we're giving the slaves the right to vote.
This gave all Americans right to vote, even if they were former slaves.
3 years later.
Then, the ratification of the 15th Amendment.
Now
every male can vote no matter their race.
Vote, no matter race, color, or being a former slave. The Ku Klux Klan was founded in Tennessee 3 weeks after the 13th Amendment was made. Established in 1866, the first known leader was Nathan Bedford Forrest. It was a parliamentary vigilantism group. More famously known as the KKK, they primarily targeted free, land-owning black people. They would do antics such as burn crosses in front of their houses, tar and feather them, or even hang them. The KKK also started things called Jim Crow laws. These basically made it impossible for black people to carry out the things they were promised. These laws included making a fee to vote that black people could not pay for, or making tests that they could not pass. They also would make more violent acts against them and have a right. From 1870 to 1871, the KKK Act was the Third Enforcement Act. They targeted black senators and leaders. For example, Hiram Revels became the first African-American U.S. Senator, representing Mississippi. Frederick Douglass was also an African-American who was in a leadership role. Nathan Bedford Forrest was a Confederate general who had no formal military experience before the war. He started as a private and went and became a general in a very short amount of time. He served as cavalry officer in many events, some of which were the battles of Shiloh, Chickamauga, Bryce's Crossroads, and the Second Franklin. Once the Confederacy fell, he became a part of the KKK, being the first leader. Frederick Douglass was a heavy supporter of the abolition of slavery. He was a former slave that was released in 1838. He was one of the first slaves who learned how to read and write.
What are you writing about, Douglas? Just things around me, you know?
Well, you misspelled that word, and that word.
Okay.
Sloppy work.
Okay. Sorry, Master.
It's okay. What are you reading?
I'm just reading.
About your glorious victories and how you won in all the wars. Read this sentence. The battle between life and death
It says should. You should know
Should.
that.
Sorry. I'm sorry,
Sloppy
sir.
work.
I'm sorry, sir.
Keep working on it.
Yes, I will.
And he was also a big part in organizing the Underground Railroad. After the Civil War, he took up some government jobs in Washington, D.C. The Enforcement Acts were put into place by Ulysses S. Grant to put a halt to the quickly worsening KKK. These were put in place from 1870 to 1872. Criminal codes were put into place to protect black people's right to vote. As the violence of the KKK got worse, governors hesitated to send black Americans into battle so as not to start a race war. Most KKK members were caught, tried, and locked up, or even worse, executed. Booker T. Washington was born in a slave hut on April 5, 1856. After the emancipation, he moved with his family to Virginia. He was too poor for normal education and had to work in a salt furnace and later a coal mine. He was very passionate about school and went to Hampton University. He was the headmaster of a new school for African Americans. With little money, he turns the school of 2 buildings into a 100 withdrawal 38 trades, 200 teachers, and $2 million endowment. Samuel J. Tilden lost the election to Rutherford B. Hayes.
Sorry to inform you, Samuel J. Tilden, but Rutherford B. Hayes has won the presidential election. Yeah.
Good job, sir. Good job.
Well put together campaign.
Thank you.
It was a very contested because he won the popular vote and only lost by 1 electoral vote. This was the first case of a president losing the popular vote but instead winning the electoral votes. Charles Sumner was a radical Republican and a heavy opposer of the Lincoln Reconstruction Act. He was assaulted with a cane in a court meeting on May 22, 1885 by Preston Brooks.
Slaves deserve just as much as we have. The Southerners have taken everything from them.
You're wrong.
I knew you were wrong.
To this day, it is known as the caning of Charles Sumner. Preston Brooks was fined $10,000 in today's money, and that was about $300 back in 1885. Rutherford B. Hayes was a Civil War veteran from 1877 to 1881. In 1868, he was voted governor of Ohio, then re-elected for his second term. He was the 19th president in the 1876 election. He oversaw the end of Reconstruction. He was part of the most fiercely disputed election of all time, when he defeated Samuel Tilden in 1877. He was born in 1822 and completed Reconstruction. Reconstruction, a period of time that almost destroyed us as much as the Civil War. This was a time that tried our strength as a new country. There were betrayals in new organizations. As much trouble it caused, it did, however, force us to work together and put the past in the past. In conclusion, the Reconstruction era was both terrible and great, but it was a time that shaped America for years to come.